If you feel like traveling is too expensive for you, stick around till the end because I think this is going to be a very encouraging episode. My name is Dani Walker. I'm a full-time content creator, and on today's episode, I'm going to share with you how much money that I spent traveling around Poland. If you enjoy travel-related content, please consider subscribing to this channel as well as hitting that notifications bell. And if you want to support the channel because you really enjoy it, you can do so by sharing this episode with a friend. You can hit that super thanks button or check out the merch store. For the sake of keeping everything uniform, I'm going to tell you how much I spent in US dollars. First things first, let's talk about how long I was there. I was there a total of 9 days in the middle of July. So this is a pretty busy travel season for many European countries. The first thing I spent money on was my flight. Prior to being in Poland, I was in Vienna, Austria. So I only spent $117.29 on my flight. I probably would have spent a lot less if I hadn't have booked last minute. I booked my flight about 2 days before my departure. Now, if you're traveling from another continent, of course, your flight prices are going to be higher, but if you book months in advance, you can spend less than $1,000 on your flight, and you can do so by using tools like Scott's Flights, for example, to find low-cost flights, or Google Flights. For the first part of my trip, I arrived in Kraków. I got an Airbnb there and I spent $115.17. I will actually show you this Airbnb. If you want to see the tour, you can also watch my vlog about the trip, but I'm going to link the Airbnb listing in the description below if you would like to see this one specifically for yourself. While I was in Kraków, I decided to do the Auschwitz and Birkenau tour. I thought that that was a really important thing to do and see. It's such a significant part of history. To let you know, the concentration camps are about an hour outside of Kraków. I booked a tour that was recommended to me through my Airbnb host. After searching for different options, I found this to be the best price. It was 60 euros or 62.07 USD approximately. The tour that I chose started at 8 a.m. when I got picked up from my Airbnb, and then I got back to my Airbnb by 3 p.m. This might sound like a really long tour, but the time really flies if you consider that you take a bus to the concentration camps and they play a video for you to refresh you on the history, and then on the way back you can also choose to purchase a lunch. That's the package that I chose. You don't have to purchase the ticket with the lunch though, and it's not some great lunch. It was like an apple, a sandwich, and a water. I'll also link the company that I booked my tour through in the description because it was connected with the city's tourism. Now let's talk about public transportation. There's a few that I utilized while I was in Poland. The first was rideshare from the airport to my Airbnb. There's also a lot of scooters in the city, and that's a really affordable way to travel around the city. And then the third form of transportation I used was a Flix bus. During my trip in Poland, I had an event to attend in a place called Nowy Sącz, and that was about a 2-hour bus ride from Kraków, so I took the bus there. Unfortunately, when I arrived, I found out that there was no vacancy in the hotels. Clearly I planned at the last minute and I wouldn't recommend that. So I had to take another 45-minute bus to another neighboring town where I was able to find accommodations. So my grand total for the entire trip for scooters, rideshare, and the bus rides was $88.04. I'll also mention that my scooter app was not working, so I wasn't able to close out my session, so I ended up paying a lot more than I had to for my scooter rides. When I traveled to that neighboring city from the 14th to the 17th of the month, I booked a beautiful hotel in like this mountainside area. I absolutely loved it. And the total for that stay was only $70 USD. After my time there, I headed back to Kraków because I was going to fly out of that airport. I got another Airbnb for my stay there. That was $187.71 USD. The last thing I spent money on was meals, and let me tell you, Polish food is one of my favorite cuisines. It is so filling, it's so tasty, and the food is very affordable. I was able to experience some amazing restaurants, amazing dishes. I loved it. So I I spent a grand total of $89.12. That's eating out as well as purchasing groceries. During my time there, I didn't do any additional tours. I just really enjoyed walking around the city, exploring and riding on scooters. I also didn't purchase any souvenirs on this particular trip. The one thing you may notice that's missing from this episode is my return flight. Now, I did not return back to the US. I actually went on a trip to Madrid, and the price of that flight was over $300, but I'm not gonna calculate it into this because that's such a big variable. It would be a very different price for you and for me, dependent on whether you would go back home or whether you would travel to another European country. Without including my return flight, my grand total for 9 days in Poland was $729.40. Yes, that is all that I spent for 9 days in Poland. I think that that is an incredible price, especially considering that all of the accommodations that I booked were at the very last minute. I booked everything within 48 hours of arrival. So obviously, if you booked in advance, you would save a lot more. You'd have a lot more options in front of you. So plan in advance if you want to save for travel. Now, if you want to see this adventure for yourself, I created travel vlogs just for it, but I really hope that this episode is encouraging to you. I hope that it'll help you to see that travel can be affordable and that it's possible if that is what your goal is. I really, really, really want to encourage you to go out and live those dreams and just don't wait for them. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it was helpful. Remember, any of the things that I mentioned are going to be linked down in the description below to help you plan for your next trip. I greatly appreciate you for watching this episode. I hope that you chose to subscribe and that you'll come back for a lot more travel related content. I'll see you soon.